Hello TVs. This video is essentially about time travel. I'm going to speak very briefly about it, but not very long. Obviously, that means very briefly. I tend to mumble when I talk, so I'm working on that. This is my first video. I'm working also on my angles, so if you see me looking over here or there, because I'm trying to focus in on the camera. Okay, so does time really exist? As we're talking about time travel. Excuse me. Yes, it does. And no, it doesn't. It depends on where you are in time, whether or not time travel exists. And I mean that in the sense of, let's think about it in the terms of the world. There are indigenous tribes all over the world, okay, that have been untouched by modern technology. They don't know about the internet, aren't interested, it doesn't matter to them. They're still living their lives they lived 500 to 1,000 to more than that years ago in the past. And they're surviving and thriving in their own scale. Okay, not by our scale, our scale of modern whatever. Meaning, money and all that stuff. They're doing well, by their standards. Okay, so let's take that person, whomever they may be, he or she, and you introduce them to the internet, and you introduce them to email, and you introduce them to Western Union, and you introduce them to, let's say, a car, because mind you, they're living the way they did and have traditionally, so they necessarily don't know about cars. We don't know. It depends on the tribe. It's different for every tribe and their situation. Some tribes or tribal peoples have seen cars go through their village. It's part of the new world, but necessarily don't know how to work on them. Let's say a car stopped in their village. They wouldn't know what to do as far as to fix it because that's not a part of the world that they know. This is a part of a new world. So let's say we introduced this said person or people to an email or the internet. They have essentially time traveled. They have essentially moved to another time frame. Let's say we introduce these also said people to a car, which they have never used before in their life. Maybe they use horses. Maybe they use donkeys. Maybe they use cows even for transportation. And then all of a sudden we introduce the car. They are now time traveling. They send an email. They send a text. They are now time traveling. Time travel is relative to the experience that you have with it. It's not necessarily a DeLorean for those of us from back in the days. I love me some Back to the Future because it's very it clues in on a lot of things about the future. Also, a lot of things about the time travel, or the time travel, or time travel period. The apparatus that is used in Back to the Future, if you think about it, resembles a uterus. Really, the more I think about it, and I'm seeing it very clearly. It's an apparatus like this, right? And there's one singular line down the middle part, right? So essentially, or let's say just say biologically, that is what a uterus looks like because this is the womb, right? And then this tube is essentially the vaginal shaft. That's where if a woman is on her cycle, the blood escapes and leaves the body every 28 days. This is also where discharge comes when you're not in your cycle, just from the uterus area. And if you think about that in reference to time travel as well, then time travel is also through a vessel. Okay? I'm going to plunge a little into the rabbit hole. Still focusing on the uterus, still focusing on a vessel. Let's keep this in mind. Now, the vessel is a human female being. We're not saying it's a human being, we're just saying a human female being. Because traditionally, Females are the ones of reproduction. There is time travel involved in reproduction. Now, this is where it gets deeper and deeper, because if we're talking about time travel in reference to reproduction, then where are we pulling from? You know, where is that child, that being that you just created with your man? Be it, since we're in 2021, be it your chosen partner, your husband, or your donor. Where is that connection coming from? It is a chemical reaction, but chemical reactions can also be things that start experiments, right? A chemical reaction is what created the atomic bomb. A chemical reaction is what created the ability for spaceships to go into space. So, if we're using that same theory about reproduction, and you have one chemical element, which is the female, and then you have the male chemical element coming in, okay, and we have the uterus, okay, and then we have the tonal, which with the child, the being will be born, a new being will be born into the world. That is essentially time travel. Lost a bit of that thought, to be honest, but I think you kind of follow what I'm saying, because where did that being, he or she, come from? It was, I think that human reproduction essentially between two human beings on the planet Earth. Okay, I can't speak about other things out there because I'm not from there. I am a human being on the planet Earth. Okay, so I am from the planet Earth in this galaxy. So I can't talk about other beings. I won't call them aliens because that makes it seem foreign. Like we don't know what they are. No, they're other beings. Okay, we're humans. You know, we look like this because we're humans on Earth. We don't know what other beings look like on other planets that breathe similar oxygen, even, but are in different spheres. So let's just say they eat apples and oranges, but because their biosphere is different from ours, maybe they eat apple and oranges minus one nutrient, or minus one chemical, or minus one element. So their apples and oranges taste different than ours, but it is still essentially the same thing, you know. It's humanity in a loophole. It's time, essentially. It's repetition of what we were and are to be. What we are now seeing has already happened. Who we are now, we've already been, and what is to come has already happened as well. That doesn't mean that there's nothing to look forward to. People get bummed out by that, and they get to thinking, oh, well, there's nothing to look forward to. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that time travel is real. That's what the essential post is about. It happens. We are all a part of it. That doesn't mean that there is no time. That doesn't mean also that what you live and breathe every day isn't real. Because when we're talking about time travel, essentially you're saying that things can be manipulated. You know, like in my favorite movie, one of my favorite movies, Hot Tub Time Machine, 1 and 2. Part 2 really, you know, spoiler alert, hopefully you haven't seen it yet, or hopefully you have seen it rather. Part 2 really got into the intricacies of time travel and how it really is a ripple effect. Essentially with time travel, you change the wavelength. And it gets you in the pattern of thinking that there is really no time. That what they did in Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and including 1, was change the fabric of time. So what it does is question reality. It questions what is real. And there's an old saying, I don't know who it is, wish I could credit them, but reality is what you make it, you know, and I think that's a very true and deep saying to behold, because that essentially means no matter what reality there is, it's what you make of it. So I think that means essentially no matter what the reality is, because time is fluid, you know, time is fluid, that you have to make the most of it.